I'm a woman with a pretty standard office job, working 5 days a week. One thing I really enjoy is cooking. I make dinner for myself almost every night, which means I often stop by the store for fresh ingredients on my way home from work. There's a Walmart about a mile from my apartment, and since they usually have the cheapest prices, it's my go-to for produce and protein. Sometimes I shop elsewhere, but Walmart is by far my most frequent stop. This story takes place a few months ago. Like usual, I was stopping at Walmart after work. I never bought much, just 4 or 5 ingredients, plus whatever else I needed. I typically got off work between 3 and 4 p.m., so I'd arrive at Walmart shortly after. The store was usually busy around that time. One day, an employee in the produce section said hi to me. I didn't think much of it, but the next time I was shopping, he said hi again. Looking back, I hadn't noticed him before, but I also hadn't paid much attention to the employees. He was bald, had a small dark beard, and was a big guy. He seemed friendly, and the second time we spoke, he asked how my day was going. We had a brief basic conversation for about 30 seconds before I told him I needed to continue shopping. Over the next couple of weeks, this became a regular occurrence. Every time I shopped, the same employee would say hi and strike up a conversation. I didn't mind too much because he was always nice, but after work, I was usually anxious to get home and not in the mood to chat. He started asking more personal questions, like if I was coming from work, where I worked, and where I lived. It began to weird me out. I wasn't sure if he was just overly friendly or if there was something else going on. I told myself he was just a nice guy, but that changed one day during one of my usual shopping trips. He approached me again. After the usual small talk, he asked for my number. I politely declined, worried he might get the wrong idea if I said yes. Besides, it felt inappropriate. Come to think of it, I never really saw him doing any work. He was always just standing around, waiting to talk to me. When I said no, he seemed offended. I started to explain my reasoning, but he turned and walked away before I could finish. His whole demeanor changed. After he left, I resumed my shopping. He had gone further into the grocery aisles, but luckily, I didn't need anything back there. I spent about 10 more minutes in the store before checking out and leaving. That day, I had parked in the back of the lot. When I got into my car, I noticed the Walmart employee was sitting in a car not far from mine. I'm not sure how I spotted him, but I'm glad I did. I assumed he was either on a break or had just gotten off work. He didn't appear to be looking at me, which was a relief. I pulled out of my parking space, only to see him do the same. He followed me out of the lot and made the same 2 turns I did to get back to my apartment. A minute later, I arrived at my complex. I was creeped out because I was almost certain he didn't live there. I drove around the parking lot, not wanting to go straight to my building. His car trailed mine the entire time. Realizing he wasn't going to stop following me, I decided to leave. I didn't know where I was going, but I needed to get away. I drove down a quiet road near the complex to a busier one, then signaled to merge onto a main road. It was almost 5 p.m., so rush hour was in full swing. With the man still behind me, I waited for a gap in traffic. When one finally came, I waited until the last moment to pull out, cutting off a car and leaving the man with no chance to follow. He was stuck in traffic as I drove away. I went straight to the customer service counter and told them about the employee who had followed me home. The store seemed disorganized, and they had to call someone from the produce section to help. When I described the man, they told me no one matching that description worked there and see. A description worked there. I realized he must have been wearing a Walmart vest. Maybe he had worked there in the past or bought the vest online. Either way, he wasn't an employee. I was even more creeped out. The staff said they'd keep an eye out for him, which made me feel slightly better, but not much. Forward to that, I carefully drove back to my apartment. Thankfully, I didn't see the man or his car again. I don't think he knew which building was mine. It's been a few months since that incident, and I haven't seen the man since. I also haven't been back to that Walmart.